Tonight, closed. A popular pub in Dawson Creek shuts its doors. Praise for police. Fort St. John business owners say they see an improvement. And Horrorfest. Halloween is right around the corner. Well, good evening and thank you very much for joining us. And we begin tonight with another bar in Dawson Creek closing its doors. A closure notice has been issued for Rockwell's Pub. Bailiffs have been at the pub all this week, seizing assets from the popular establishment. The business had been up for sale a few years back, sources saying the owners owed outstanding taxes to the government. Rockwell's, in its current form, has been operating since 2004, and the owner telling CJDC-TV News she's grateful for all the community support over the past 2 decades. Last summer, the Lone Star nightclub in Dawson Creek also permanently closed its doors. City councillors in Fort St. John praising the work of the RCMP over the past year. The council's response committee on housing and emergency shelter touring the city, talking to business owners about public safety. The goal was to gather updated information on the impacts of crime, shoplifting, and mischief, and how to assess these issues have changed over time. Property crime is down over the past years, with many business owners saying there's been a noticeable improvement. The committee points to improved response times from the RCMP, and city bylaw officers have become quicker and more efficient. The group was created to better understand and respond to the impacts of homelessness. And the city of Fort St. John receiving close to $300,000 to help fight homelessness. The Northern Healthy Communities Fund providing $294,500 to support the Fort St. John Housing Solutions Initiative. The city officials say the project will help address local housing challenges by developing a housing-first model that fits the community's needs. The goal is to support those who are experiencing homelessness or at risk of losing their housing. The initiative will focus on helping people move into permanent housing as quickly as possible without requiring them to meet certain conditions first. And once housed, people will receive support based on their individual needs. The city points to continued growth in the region. They say new jobs and new investment put pressure on housing, infrastructure, and services, and as a result, many residents struggle to find and keep stable housing. Well, calls are getting louder for the leader of the BC Conservative Party to step aside. The revolt is growing after another MLA left caucus on Tuesday. There are now calls from top party brass for John Rousted to immediately resign. But as Robert Buffum reports, the former BC Premier now saying his days are numbered.
Facing mounting pressure to step down, BC Conservative leader John Rousted remains defiant.
I am not going to be resigning, thank you.
The defiance despite members of his party's management committee, including party president Aisha Este, sending him a scathing letter describing the party as in a state of unprecedented turmoil and chaos, and calling on him to resign immediately, a perspective shared by 2 former Conservatives who've been fired or quit in the past few weeks.
I do hope John takes this recommendation by the board seriously so that the party can turn itself into a direction of renewal.
And I really hope that John will take this to heart.
The remaining 39 MLAs had various responses, ranging from support.
Do you think John Rousted should resign?
Absolutely not.
And John Rousted has your confidence?
Absolutely.
Others less committal.
No comment, you guys. Thanks.
And for some, silence.
Armin, any second thoughts on his leadership? Armin supports leadership?
Facing a drop in the polls, lost MLAs, and now loss of confidence from the party executive, former BC Liberal Premier Christy Clark says Rousted's days are numbered.
When there's a whole team of people that are jumping ship altogether, including your own party, I don't think I can imagine or remember a situation where anybody's come back from something like this.
As a practical matter, neither the management committee nor caucus can oust Rousted at this point. His removal would have to be through him resigning, something he maintains he's not doing.
I went around this province and toured as a leadership. 71% of the members voted in favor of my leadership.
Robert Buffum, CTV News, Victoria.
Well, a BC farmer speaking out tonight after he says some young vandals caused thousands of dollars in damage to his crops. And as Dimitra Maragos reports, those in the industry are saying it's a common occurrence across the province.
They did a bunch of donuts, tore up quite a huge area of grass.
Longtime Abbotsford farmer Rob Rint describing the damage after he says an SUV went on a joyride through his family's crops in mid-October.
It hurts.
This all happening in broad daylight.
I don't think they really thought about what they were doing. They just saw a field and went through the cable and did donuts.
Rint says the driver went through this cable barrier, did donuts, and left. But not before one last spin.
They came back through another driveway on another property and did the same.
Leaving their mark on a second set of crops.
Having somebody drive through what you spend a year growing, right? Like it's kind of a slap to the face.
The cost of the damage, Rint says, around $100,000.
It's kind of like being punched in the gut.
We reached out to Abbey PD, who says they have identified the vehicle and are investigating.
No, I'm not surprised.
That's Bill Zillmans from the BC Potato and Vegetable Growers Association, who says, anecdotally, he hears about this happening to crops across the province once a month.
This has been an ongoing challenge in agriculture for quite some time.
And says this is an obstacle for farmers that could be easily avoided.
It's extremely hard to produce with the challenges, whether it's weather or the public. And this is just one other thing that really is not necessary.
Rint says this incident shows a lack of common decency.
People should respect people's properties.
Dimitri Marigo, CTV News, Abbotsford.
Alberta Premier Danielle Smith says if a deal is not reached to end the province-wide teacher strike, her government will introduce back-to-work legislation on Monday. The two sides do not have a formal talk scheduled, but Smith says there's still time to reach a deal. Her government has already laid the required procedural groundwork to introduce the back-to-work bill. The strike's affecting 51,000 teachers and 750,000 students across Alberta. The Canadian Industrial Relations Board has ruled against the union representing Canada Post workers. It comes after the union challenged last year's move by the federal government to force employees back to work. The workers were ordered back on the job last December by Ottawa, with feds invoking Section 107 of the Canadian Labour Code. The union challenged the move, saying it violated its right to strike under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Well, the board has now concluded the charter was not violated, and it has no authority to review the Labour Minister's decision. The dispute between Canada Post and the union is still ongoing, with workers currently participating in rotating strikes. Ottawa tabled a bill today that cracks down on violent and repeat offenders, and it comes after word the man shot dead by police in Niagara Falls on Wednesday was allegedly out on bail for a crime committed 2 years ago against the same woman murdered this week. CTV's Heather White reports.
On Tuesday afternoon, shots rang out at this busy shopping plaza in Brampton, Ontario. A woman shot and killed, a child abducted. The man accused was awaiting trial for domestic violence charges involving the same woman, 29-year-old Savannah Kula. It's these types of repeat and violent crimes Ottawa is hoping to crack down on, with new measures announced today.
This is a package of sweeping reforms that includes more than 80 targeted measures that will make bail laws stricter and sentencing tougher.
The federal Liberal government has been accused of being soft on crime and for allowing a so-called revolving door justice system that's too lenient on violent offenders. The changes announced today are designed to make bail more difficult to get, creating a reverse onus that falls on the accused.
The accused must provide information that clearly demonstrates they do not pose a public safety risk.
The bill also introduces a new set of aggravating factors that will lead to stiffer penalties against violent and repeat offenders, as well as those who target first responders, organized retail theft, and crimes against public infrastructure. Victims' rights advocates, police unions, and some provinces have been demanding these types of changes amid a rise in violent and high-profile crimes. But not everyone is on side. The Canadian Civil Liberties Association says there is not enough evidence that shows bail causes crime, and they worry innocent people will be held in custody as a result.
We do worry that as we erode this charter right more and more and more, we'll get into a situation where just because you are accused of something, before you have your day in court, you're held behind bars.
Asked about whether this bill will require more space in jails, the Justice Minister said provinces asked for these changes and should be developing the capacity to manage more people going through detention facilities. Heather Wright, CTV News, Toronto.
Ottawa is fighting back against American automakers who've cut jobs in Canada. There will now be limits on the number of vehicles that Stellantis and General Motors can now import tariff-free from the United States to sell here in Canada. It comes after the companies announced that they are reducing the amount of production that they are doing in Canada. In a pre-budget speech, the Prime Minister said he wants to follow the American model to recharge the economy by importing less and exporting more. Mark Carney says it'll mean sacrifices for Canadians. CTV's Michael Couture explains.
Why don't I not scoop the budget?
Prime Minister Mark Carney came close to revealing parts of the November budget, but he did expand a little on Wednesday night's speech, where he told university students transforming the Canadian economy would take some time and some sacrifices.
There's certain demands or desires to expand in different areas, and we won't be able to move as quickly as we otherwise would.
What will our legacy be in the future?
The founder of Generation Squeeze says the sacrifice that should be made is a change to the old age security program.
Can we ask those of us who are financially secure to maybe take smaller subsidies in retirement so that the savings can be repurposed to eliminate seniors' poverty and to help our kids and grandchildren?
That's a red line for the Bloc Québécois, who has been asking for a boost to old age security. Despite hearing themes of fiscal restraint from Carney, the Conservative leader isn't buying it.
It's always the bait and switch. You know, he said he would spend less. He's spending 8% more. His deficit is 100% more than the one that the Liberal government had already put in place.
Carney did say dental care, health transfers, childcare, and the National Food Program won't be affected. The budget is being crafted as trade negotiations continue with the U.S., focused on the steel and aluminum industries.
The Americans are moving to an approach which is sector by sector as opposed to global.
Carney says if there isn't progress in those affected sectors, his government will ensure other countries don't have unfair access to our markets if we don't have access to theirs. Mike Couture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Well, overseas, it was a historic moment in Italy today as King Charles joined Pope Leo and the Anglican Archbishop in prayer. Charles, who is the head of the Church of England, and his wife Camilla took part in a prayer service in the Sistine Chapel. It's the first time a British monarch and Pope have prayed together since the Church of England broke with the Catholic Church some 500 years ago. The visit is meant to build a closer relationship between the two houses of worship. Well, back here at home with Halloween right around the corner, Horfest is returning to Dawson Creek. The festival will feature short Halloween-themed movies from local filmmakers.
Expect to see plenty of scares, expect to see some comedy thrown in, some blood, some gore. I will say viewer discretion is advised. We do have some scarier sort of titles. Nothing too intense, but nothing for the little kiddos. We're also looking to announce some really exciting news about our next feature film, Past, Present, Future, at the event, which we're really excited about, along with a draw.
Well, Macwood Film Arts Development Society putting on the event. It starts at 7 p.m. Friday night at KPAC, and 4 local filmmakers will be in attendance to field questions after the screening. Tickets are $10 online at the door, but they are selling quickly. All right, stay tuned. I'll be right back after the break with weather.